Good morning and welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Pace. It's Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day to all the military members before and after. This is the day that we think about the people that fought for our country and died. It's sad to say, so we can have the freedom. You have chosen to come into my podcast because you found me on Facebook, Fighting CPS. And you're probably wondering, what is CPS? No, most of you know what CPS is. It stands for the Child Protection System, meaning that in every state, there's a branch of social services that provides a CPS organization. It may be called different names. It may be called um, DCS, like in Arizona, Department of Children Services. There's a lot of different names. But when I say CPS, I talk about the organization that's supposed to protect our children from neglect, abuse, and also do family reunification. And yes, there are children that are abused, but a lot of them are, um, through no fault of your own, taken from you when they're not in extreme danger or the allegations are not true. And that is the sad part about things. So, mm. Now, going over this podcast has several ways you can interact with it. One way is that you can text in a message and you can type in your comments about CPS. But please show me your name, the city, state, and country you're from, so I get kind of an idea of the CPS cases around the country, around the world. And yes, we've had countries call in: Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, Mexico, Mozambique, and Denmark. Those are the ones that have called in. Mm. Another way that you can interact with the podcast is call me on my office phone, 626-698-0990. And I'll turn my speaker on so the audience can hear you. I'll hear you, and we can interact with you and answer your questions, concerns about CPS. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, all you need to do is contact our producer, Grace, who will put you on the show. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That's 14 shows. You'll catch me at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time for an hour, and 7 p.m. Pacific time, an hour. and your email to Grace, you put in what day, morning or afternoon. Now, there's one exception to my rule because, not my rule, but just show times is on Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock for an hour. And that's every Sunday, but that's it. Now, there are certain other times I may change due to personal issues. But please send an email to Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentdavis.com. I know this is Memorial Day weekend, so there may not be a lot of people. And being a holiday weekend, they'll be off doing fun things with the family, which I think is great. So what is CPS? Well, from my experience, I know it firsthand because I had a case, a CPS case. And it happened in 2010. Recently, I was laid off through no fault of my own. I'm texting our co-host, see if she's coming. Come on. I'll see if she answers there. But my case was very, very hard. It's still hard today. I've been doing this for 14 years fighting CPS. 2015, my kids that weren't in danger were taken from their school and trafficking, by CPS into foster care. You'll find out that CPS lies, very deceitful, not transparent, and also get your hopes up, then the last minute change in their mind. There's a girl on yesterday that talked about her case in Arkansas. And she did something, I guess, smart. She knew about CPS losing paperwork and not saying you did anything. So she had all the classes you've taken send to the judge her class completion and so forth. So when she showed up for court, the judge asked her, have you completed all your cases? And she said yes. And then the social worker says, no, she hasn't done one thing. She's been this and this and that. And the judge took out a folder, and in there was all these things. What apparently you got the wrong person here. Case is closed. Return the child. And that was from a judge. And I was really happy to hear that. I don't know if all cases end that way, but the girl from Arkansas, Miss Lewis, shared that with us. So I thought that was great information. It's a sad thing about a CPS because if you want to get a picture of who they really are, all you have to do is look on the internet at 2022 at Prescott, Arizona, the Pink Ladies. And no, I'm not talking about the Pink Ladies in the movie Grease. I'm talking about social workers, 8 of them, that worked out of Prescott. They had over 25 years of social work experience. Made pink t-shirts, and on the front it said professional kidnappers. Kidnappers. And on the back they said, where do you know, parents, do you know where your children are at? And that was really sad because it implied that they take away children, and they do. That's so sad, and that is wrong. They shouldn't take away, your children. They should help with services that helps the family through their hiccups. Or maybe it's the false allegation syndrome. Or they are in between jobs like I was. Had a big mortgage payment to pay, and I was between jobs, and they kept bothering me for 5 years. And the allegations came from lay people who were my wife's parents and family members. They all were making up stories and calling in to, and they were in Ohio making these stories up. And it was really sad. It was really sad because my children suffered, we suffered, and I lost a girl because of this. I lost a home, a beautiful home that I worked 40 years for. So I want you to know there are things you need to do to stop CPS and get your children back, not have your children taken. And I've keeps them into 3 rules. You'll find that when you're dealing with CPS, it's like you're Alice in Wonderland, and you played in your garden, and you've fallen into a rabbit hole. And in the rabbit hole, you go to all these rooms, all these crazy people saying things off of your head and this kind of stuff. And that's what CPS is. You're Alice locked into Wonderland to the most horrific agency the government has. Now, this agency, just like the ladies, the social workers in Prescott, Arizona, don't care about you. They don't like parents. They especially don't like grandparents or other family members getting involved. They don't like seniors. They don't like elders. There's no respect. There is terrible lack of education. Terrible act. They don't need to have a license or certificate or license that has to be renewed to work. They don't need a college degree. My worker at 22 was barely out of high school, and she got this job, and she had no training, no social classes, haven't taken the parenting classes or the program, so she didn't know what she was talking. All she was interested in her Gucci purse she got every week, or her clothing, or her eyelashes, or eye makeup, or her BMW car, because she got a bonus every time your child's kept every month. $20,000 per child goes into the county CPS. And that comes from the state, who gets it from the government. And I guess the government doesn't watchdog it, and the state certainly doesn't watchdog it. And that's wrong. That's wrong. Now you're faced with what to do. You've just been served notice. A social worker has contacted you, and they think you're guilty until they prove you innocent. It's the only court of law, the dependency court, where you're guilty until you prove it innocent. Every other criminal court is you're innocent till you're proven guilty. And so, with that being said, you're going to need somebody to navigate child protection services to help you get your child back. And you need somebody that is a fighter, somebody that has years of experience of fighting CPS and getting children back. And that kind of person is called a dependency lawyer. A dependency lawyer. And there's a guy I'm talking about that fits that criteria. His name is Vincent W. Davis. And he's been fighting CPS for 35 years. He's been successful at getting the children back. He got my 2 boys back. And so he practices law in Southern California, but will go in other states, Northern California, and other states. He was at Oklahoma not too long ago, but he will take on cases there. But he's also a trial attorney, so he knows how to fight and cross-examine and so forth. And so he has that experience. And he right now is offering a consultation for my group of people at $60, and you get 30 minutes, $60 for 30 minutes. And he'll talk, he'll help you navigate you with the CPS system and talk to the social workers and tell them what you can do to get your child back. Now, to find an attorney, that's a hard thing to do. I just found one you for 30 minutes. It'd be worth the call. But if you look for an attorney and income is your problem, then you can find what's called a pro bono attorney who doesn't charge. And a lot of you, for whatever reason, are broke, and I feel for you on that. It's wrong. When you look at an attorney, you need someone to have chemistry with and someone who fights CPS. And so I tell people, you need to search the internet, and it's very important that the arrangement of these keywords are made. And how you say it is fight in, and I'm going to use a small city in Georgia called Athens. And Athens not too far from Atlanta. And Athens, Georgia, a pro bono, which means no charge, dependency lawyer, professional lawyer. Now, when you text that in, you should get a list of names, and all you need to do is pick 10 from the list of names. If only 10 show up, pick all 10. If 8 show up, just pick 8. But then after you get your list done, once you put that list together, because you're going to narrow it down to 5 people, and you're going to have a consultation with them. But initially, you got to find a couple things. Are they still in business? That sometimes the internet, the information is so old, they've changed office or whatever it is. So that way you determine by calling in. If someone answers and they're the law office of who you're trying to contact, then that is legit. Now, the next question you want to ask is, are they pro bono? That means they're not charging. Now, if they don't answer it or give me, or they come back later with exorbitant price, then they're not the person that you want to pick in your top 10. So it's really important that you it's a hard thing to deal with finding an attorney. I couldn't afford one at the time when I lost my job, so I was pretty strapped for money. I was able to, after a year of fighting without an attorney, I was able to sell my home and use the proceeds to help me with getting my children back. Now, the attorney that I picked was Mr. Vincent Davis. He's an excellent trial attorney. He has over 35 years of experience. And he's fought CPS. In fact, he's also sued CPS both in state and federal court. So you know he's a good attorney. Now, another question you're talking to your attorney after finding out if they're pro bono or not. Then you want to see, have they fought CPS? And have they got the children back? You might also ask them if they've done a civil lawsuit against CPS. That's a real good indicator that they have fought CPS, because CPS is powerful. It's a $50 billion business a year. And they take a lot of things out of context. So as you're talking to the attorneys, you ask them the questions. Have they fought a civil lawsuit? That's a real good indicator. Then after that, you want to schedule a consultation with 4 of those attorneys that you found, plus scheduled time with Vincent W. Davis. And you can schedule a time with him. And he charges for 30 minutes $60. And all you have to do is call in the 888-888-0582. That's the office phone. That's the second one. And you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And then further, you tell Mr. Davis that Bob Pace sent you. So when you talk to these 5 attorneys, you're going to find if the chemistry is right, and you're going to pick one of them, and you're going to hire them. 4 of them are pro bono. And Vincent's fees are very reasonable. In fact, I think you should talk to him very, very soon right now, because he has some valuable information he can help you with. Value information. So there, once you secure an attorney, your life will change. It'll be nice because you have supposedly somebody who's a fighter. You got to make sure that they want to fight. That's why I ask you to ask them if they fought CPS and got children back, have been successful at doing that. So it's a real emphasize that you get an attorney, because without an attorney, it's like if you're having open heart surgery and you decide yourself to cut open your chest and go in there and try your best using mirrors, which precision wise is not necessarily the best, is to do a layman approach to getting your heart worked on. I mean, a plumber can't do it, a mechanic can't do it. And so, so then you sit down with your attorney. Now, some of you say, I get a court-appointed attorney. It's not the same thing. It's totally different. The court-appointed attorney isn't that much experience in that field of dependency court. Plus, they're going to go along the flow with the courtroom, with the other attorneys representing the kids and the parents, because they have a social thing. They do picnics and so forth. Um, that leads me into something that I'm going to take these out of order, but rule number 3 I have is how important it is to say no to policemen or social workers. When they get the allegation, they're immediately going to try to take the child, and they don't follow their own rules. I mean, if the child is not in a safe position, then um, they need to remove the child. I agree with that. It's a dangerous position. Let's say the police come and there's a lot of commotion and slamming against walls. They're going to come into your place. But if it's quiet, there's nothing going on, then just be quiet. Don't answer the door. Most likely it's a social worker. And the last person to open the door, and this is the sad part, was a 24-year-old black man that was in the United States Air Force. And it was sad because he was shot and killed on the spot. Apparently, there was some commotion happening in the apartment complex. And so when the policeman asked for assistance, she took him to what was the wrong place. He was on Zoom time with his girlfriend. And it's really sad because instead of the police officer, he knocked once, said nothing. Knocked a second time, it wasn't very friendly. And the guy inside opened the door, let him in, and he had a gun drawn, but at his side, not pointing at the sheriff. And when the sheriff saw the gun, he was a black man, he fired 5 times, killed him on the spot. So I'm telling you, don't open the door. What the policeman could have done, if he suspects someone behind the door, he could say, "Attention to whoever is behind the door. Please unlock the door. Um, put your hands behind your head, lay down, and if you had a weapon, put it to the side." So what the policeman can do, he works on the left side of the door jamb, and so when he reaches up to open the door, it slowly opens. At that time, he should look down below to see what his sight's seeing. And apparently, there was nothing. Um, well, apparently, he didn't do that. Apparently, his training was bad, and it seems like a lot of policemen mistaken people all the time, killing them in their home, which is really further sad. Um, so I say, be quiet. They can leave a business card or contact you, but don't necessarily open the door for anybody, police or firemen, unless there's a injury in the family and the paramedics were called. And then sometimes they ask the police to come out. Um, so it's really sad. It really hurts me because he was a growing up young man from high school. He enlisted in the Air Force. He was doing honorable work in the Air Force, and now he's murdered. He's death. Was taken by a Gainesville sheriff in Florida. And it's so, so sad what he went through. So that also goes for social workers. Don't let them in. You don't let them into your home because you don't want them to see your home. You don't know what condition your home is. And they're going to use things they find there against you. They're going to go through your underwear drawer. I don't know why they do that, but they do that. And these social workers will violate your constitutional and your civil rights. The policemen also will do that. Social workers have a habit of calling up the policemen to force a person that has been accused to interact. To interact with them. Best thing to do is if you're outside, just say no or yes answers, be polite, but don't talk to them. Don't tell your story. That was a mistake I did. I tell my story. And so this can happen at your home, at your place of business, at the school where the kids are at. If your kids are in school and you get a phone call, then you may be called in because something going on with your kids. The kids cannot see a grown adult until they've become more mature, as I wanted to say. There's another part too that's happening a lot lately is medical trafficking. As a parent, you still have your medical rights and your educational rights. And that is becoming a really sad thing. The public defender that you get in court, the court appointed, will lose your case, will not fight for you. They're friends of the other lawyers, children's lawyer, the social worker lawyers, friends of the judge or the plaintiff. They go out to lunch together. It's really sad state of affairs that the social system I have one more rule. Oh, before I forget that rule, there's a thing called medical trafficking, and that's where they will approach you in the hospital. Lately, it seems that the hospitals are now having social workers in them, and they are trained in CPS, and they will take your children. What you need to do is say no to them. Just because you disagree with the doctor's findings or want to get another opinion, you're allowed to do that. You have medical and education rights to your children. Don't lose them. Don't let them out of your sight. That is really, 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 really sad. So you got to be careful going to urgent care or the emergency late at night. You should all times go to your family doctor, your pediatrician for your kids. Another form of medical trafficking is when you have a birth of your child and they try to take away right at birth. You come in the birthing room, they have no paperwork. That's your privacy. You don't need to deal with their insecurities or whatever they're doing to possess children. It's all because of money. It's a money game to CPS. It still is a money game. So if they come into your birthing room, tell them to wait outside. Tell the policeman to wait outside. They can wait in the lobby. But no case to give up your child. It's gotten so bad lately where CPS are going to other states. I've heard that Kentucky has gone into Arkansas to retrieve children. I know that Boston, Massachusetts CPS went to Rhode Island to retrieve children. A girl was going in for surgery in Boston hospital, and so she made arrangements to have her mother watch her child. I guess when she was in doing the surgery, they tested her, and of course, she gave out information she had children. You don't want to discuss or give out information. That is the downside. I mean, you give your first last month's name is all you need to do. Um, the rest of they can find them themselves. So I'm telling you, do not give your children away. Do not let them in the home. Do not talk to social workers. And this also includes policemen. They need a document called a warrant, and that warrant has to be signed by a judge and has specifically say what's it for, the name of the person they're investigating, the children's names, and then the alleged crime that the perpetrator has done. Now, rule number 2 that I skipped over is the paper rule. What I mean by that is that you need to keep track of everything and have it organized because you may be going there for at least a year or more. So you find this 3-ring, 6-inch notebook, and you're going to stuff it with notebook, college rule notebook paper. And then you get some subject tabs. So you have the cost of the notebook and the subject tab that's in the paper. But that's all it is. And hopefully you get everything by, say, $20 or something. But with this paper notebook on your CPS case, you're going to, of course, have your name affixed to it, but then you're going to have a boy, where is Danielle? um, so this paper notebook is organized into different things. One of the most important things are incidents. These are things that happen to you with CPS or children or somebody else. You write everything down. You put the date, the time, the number of who is involved, what family member or children or adults were involved. Then you're going to go ahead and write down on the next line what you think the incident was. I mean, you not what was, but what you think it well what it is. You write down that they're accusing you of molesting your daughter. Um, so it's very important that you have a now you skip a couple lines, but the next incident, and you skip a couple lines, but the next incident, and so forth until you have it filled up. Well, until you have countless pages. Now, another thing that you can put in about the uh, another one for the tab would be um, classes completed or programs completed. And what you do is you list all the classes that you're taking, the parenting classes, and so forth, and put the information about it next to the class you took. And you arrange that all by dates too. Then after the professional, I shouldn't call them professional. Um, after after the description incident, you're going to have the outcome. The outcome may take some time to do, but you want to have the outcome, and you want to discuss everything in the incident. And then the next couple lines, you can put down the results, the outcome. And you want that information there too, because that's important. Now, some of you may take, a year, 12 months to get that information or see that information. But it's important you ask for it and that you're able to see it. Let me see here. Now, there's about 18 minutes left of the show. And I would love you guys to call in at 626-698-0990. And you reach my office phone. It's on during the times of the show. And of course, the other way is that you can text me a comment about CPS. Just be complete with it. List your name, city, state, and country you're from, and be complete about describing your case. That helps out a lot. And of course, you can schedule as a guest by emailing grace@vincentwdavis.com. Those are several ways you can come in there. You can text a comment, you can call into my office phone, or you can email Grace to be on the podcast. I wonder where all my people are. It is really a holiday weekend, and I don't doubt very seriously people want to deal with CPS on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, I was talking about the notebook and what you can do to organize it. You can have another that would be a list of all your programs or parenting classes or eating drug test results. You could add that tab in there and put that stuff in there. You can 3-hole punch it. Also, you may want to do another tab that deals with all the info things you found on CPS. You can lay that info, and there you have the phone numbers and the websites, the people you can talk to that can help you and stuff. So it's really important to organize your facts and so forth. You want to also include all your case plans and all your correspondence and stuff from CPS. You can have a separate tab for that. And then you can make copies of them or punch them, 3-hole punch them in. If you got the original copy that was sent to you, use that. But you want to keep track of your CPS case. It's so hard because it may go on longer than 48 days, as they say usually takes. There's 24 hours for them to investigate it, and then they can have a hearing pretty quick, pretty quick. So that's my 3 rules. Find an attorney, create a notebook to keep track of all your paperwork, and 3, say no to CPS and to police. Don't let them in your home, and don't let them take your child in the hospital. Now, yesterday, Faith from Richmond was describing more problems in Richmond, Kentucky. And it was really sad because not only are the money being stolen because they were unaccounted for $400,000, but they found someone embezzled the funds. And of course, they're prosecuting him, but there's no control over the money. The money is given freely from the from the federal government to the state, and then the state gives it to the agency of the county that asked for it. But they should be accountable. There should be a group of individuals that are monitoring the CPS things that they're doing, make sure they're not doing anything wrong or falsifying information, which they have a tendency to do a lot of falsification. But I'm telling you, you got to be really careful. There's no question that they're out for revenge or out to get you. They do trafficking children. And as I said earlier in the show about the pink ladies, the t-shirt, they said they're professional kidnappers, implying they know how they take your children illegally. Now, there's a lot of things you need to know when you're fighting a case. I'm not an attorney. But if you want to get on court with some new information you have, you can file what's called a 388 motion and ask in California, maybe a different number in other states. But so I'm telling you that you have to be careful. Now, Danielle had a special needs child. She had to do some time, so she arranged her young son to be taken care of by her mother. So her mother had a temporary guardianship. Well, when her mother died, and she just recently got out of where she was at, she has had the most difficult time because he's got lost in the system because they didn't try to contact her. And so that's why he's put into social services there. So I'm telling you out there, there's other things besides the 388 motion that will help you. You all should be able to check at the state level and get a hold of the Civil Rights Coordinator ombudsperson at the Human Resources Social Service. You need to make sure your case is on file with the state. If it's not, then they don't have a case. It's very important when they open a case, they notify the state and they file the state. So you have to be really careful. Another thing is called the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, and that's for Native American Indian children or part Indian are eligible to have the tribe handle it and says CPS. CPS has been found to be very corrupt and has stolen our children over the years. So this ICWA, as it's commonly called, was created in the late 70s. And it basically says that Indian children that are involved with CPS are immediately turned over to the tribe if the tribe can be verified or you can be added to the tribe. You don't have to be a member, but if you can be added to the tribe, that makes you the benefit to get that. And so without a CPS social worker, a child will get a fair standing. The reason why this law was passed in 1978 was because it gotten so out of hand by people just taking the child because their parents aren't so good at life. They don't seem to have a very good life. I've been wanting to go up to Rosebud Reservation, which is where my grandmother is found. My great grandmother was a Lakota Sioux at the Rosebud Reservation. And what I meant by that is that an Indian tribe will take the child, place it with another Indian family member, and they'll bring the child back to be unified with the parents. They're not in there for the money. So the ICWA is something very important as you see if you can be eligible for it. You ask the social worker to write the tribe to see if you're registered, and the tribe has to be one of the federal recognized tribes of the United States. And so if he is recognized and so forth, then they could place your children in with the Indian family, which may be better, much better than CPS, who are going to abuse your kids in their foster care system. Now, that's the ICWA. Now, I was talking to you briefly about how to check to see if a case is registered with the state. If it isn't, then your case is dropped, your children returned. A lady from Indiana, Carol, said that if you check on it and verify your case is reported to the state, then you're okay. Then you're okay. So you have to be careful with a lot of the deception that takes place. They aren't your friend. They aren't your friend. They've hurt my so bad. Our daughter was trying to be adopted by my wife's in-laws, and they lost the case. And the social worker threatened to me and my wife that you'll never see your child again. And her request came true. So she forced our 12-year-old daughter to change her name, to divorce us, to seal her birth certificate, and to be adopted out. She's 21 now. She was 9. She was 12 at the time. So I don't know how they would ever convince a child to do that. But it's really a sad, tragic thing that Native American had to go through so much brutality. So that's why they had the ICWA. Now, at the state level, if you want to protest about how your case is being handled, just contact the civil rights or the ombudsperson, and they will help you with your situation. Also, you may want to be political and contact your representative or your senator to help you. You can tell them they're always looking for good stories. And I tell you, not having your child back through no fault of your own is wrong. It's totally wrong. So it's a tough road. And I lost my daughter. It's so hard to think about it. My son still keep in touch with her even though she's divorced him, which I encouraged. And she's 21 now, so I hope that she comes back. I really do. I really do. My two boys are hanging in there, but CPS really took a toll on them. And it was hard. It was really, really, really hard. So I find that the internet is your key to success on fighting your CPS case and getting your kids back. There's so much information and so much things you can find that you should do the internet, because that will be the way you win your case. Be educated like that. But I know how hard it is for you when they come and take away your children and they're not in immediate danger. I just think about that 8 social workers in pink t-shirts of how they feel about you and your family. I didn't realize so much corruption and so much retaliation happens with CPS workers. They're a bad lot of fools. Now, as a generic statement that all CPS, I don't think all CPS workers are bad, but there's a lot of them. And I had one that came on to my show named Carol from Maryland, and she talked for a good 40 minutes, and it was interesting from her perspective because she was leading that. I never heard of such a thing as how kids are immediate danger, when they're not in immediate danger taken from you. Anyway, she's on about 40 minutes, and we talked a lot about it, but I've had 3 or 4 Maryland people call me and tell me how bad things are, so I don't know who to believe. Now, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to spend with me. I hope you all have a very happy Memorial Day weekend and get some time to say special prayers to our military members out there that have fought and served over the wars, are still fighting and serving in homes. So God bless you all. Do not stop fighting. Get your children back. And I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bob Pace.